I have enough there.
Such good quality. What box is that?
The 14 Pro.
You want one of those?
Nice.
I know, I should have got the 14.
That's
I should have got the Pro.
that's not
Is it
4K.
printed or is it
That's just
embroidered? I
regular,
can't tell
like-
from this far.
That's broiled.
Embroidered?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's really nice.
Thank you, hon.
Broiled.
It's nice, eh? I know, he's a walking, talking billboard.
Where's the E?
I
It just
pay,
says S, WST.
I pay him to wear that. You bought two.
We have the logos. The logos in the.
At the embroidery place?
No, at our back end of our website. We have the.
No,
same
no, but
logo.
who embroidered it for you?
Mr. Print.
Okay.
Oh, Vistaprint, yeah.
You ordered a
They
couple
have
of those, right?
catalogs.
Yeah.
He got Jim a shirt, a long sleeve white shirt, and a
And a
hat
hat.
to go with it.
Okay.
They're both
The
walking,
hat
talking
is just
billboards.
a printed version.
Yeah.
Like, right? You're gonna show everywhere.
Who you are? You don't work as a
That's it.
secret agent, right?
That's it.
Okay, let me just turn off my phone. Okay, guys, let's talk. An assignment. What is an assignment? An assignment is not buying real estate, you're buying the paper. Okay, the deal's already been done. The original buyer has already gone to see the builder, made the deal, whatever the deal happens to be, and now for whatever reason, the buyer has decided that they don't want to close this deal. They want to sell the agreement. Okay? So the assignor is the original buyer, buyer number one, and the assignee is buyer number two. Okay. So let's just go, before we go into the forms, we're gonna just go through what it means to happen here. So the assigner, what's their responsibility? Is the original agreement of purchase and sale assignable? You need to find out. Who tells you that? The builder. And you're gonna get it in writing. You can read the original agreement of purchase and sale to find out if it is assignable. Okay? There are some builders that is absolutely not assignable under no circumstances. Are there any restrictions on marketing on the assignment? For most of the builders, there are restrictions. That you can't put it on the MLS.
So what happens? Because don't you have to, like,
No, you can social media it.
okay.
You can put your sign up, but there's no sign to put up. In theory, you can do flyers, but you can't put it on the MLS system. Most of them don't allow you to put it on the MLS system.
Could be a
So
private or a private listing.
Like exclusive.
Like exclusively, yeah,
Yeah.
so absolutely, yeah. So they used to say, they may say it can't be MLS, there can't be an exclusive listing, or it can't even be sold privately.
And they do check the MLS, right? So.
Oh, they check the MLS all the time. They have somebody on staff who checks the MLS every day. So if you think you're gonna slide it on, that's not gonna work. They're gonna send you a nasty note, nasty letter from their lawyer. The builder may require the assignor, buyer number one, and the assignee, buyer number two, to sign the builder's consent form or the builder's assignment agreement. Most builders have their own assignment agreement. And there's also a consent form where they actually give you consent to sell the property or sell the paper. The assignee may be required to prove that they can obtain a mortgage. So when buyer number one bought the new build, they had to get pre-approval, right? You had to show it to the builder that you're approved. They're asking the same thing for buyer number two. They want to know that they're going to be capable of paying for this new build. Okay. The assigner usually agrees to obtain builder consent and pay consent fee, the assigner. So buyer number one, so the builder usually charges $3,500, $5,000, $4,000, something like that, for their administrative fee, is their paperwork fee. And buyer number one is the person that pays for that, the assigner. The assignee may be required to pay the assigner an amount equal to the deposits. So if buyer number one has paid $40,000 in deposits, usually that buyer number two will have to pay that back
To whom?
to buyer number one. Okay, because they want their money back. Number 6, provide the assignee with the original agreement of purchase and sale and all related documents. So you can't do an assignment agreement if you haven't seen the original agreement. You have to see the original agreement. Actually, it's going to form part of the offer. It's going to be the Schedule C of it eventually. On the original agreement, you read it, and there's one of the numbered clauses on it is assignment. And it's quite clear if they're allowed to assign or not. Sometimes you're allowed to sign for a specific period during before it closes. Number 7, the assignor is not usually released from their obligation to the builder if the assignee does not complete the purchase. I would say never is. I've never seen an assignor, buyer number 1, I've never seen them released. So buyer number 1 and buyer number 2 are still on the hook to the builder if buyer number 2 doesn't perform. Number 8, the assignor is responsible for the following costs: the legal fees and disbursements, any consent fee, which is the administration fee that considers around $35 to $5,000, and real estate commission. So when you list the assignment on the MLS system, if you can, the assignor, which is the seller in this case, they pay the commission. That's normal. Number 9, change of dates or other changes by the developer should be sent to the assignee by the assignor. So if the assignor gets anything from the developer, they're obligated in law to pass it on to buyer number 2, the assignee. Any questions so far? Clear as mud? Perfect.
The commission is still based on full price.
It'll be on full price of the assignment agreement.
Okay.
I do have a question. If the builder doesn't allow this assignor to list it on MLS, could they have the right to do it?
Who's they?
They being the builder, realtors that sometimes are working for the builder.
No,
So it's not like,
you can't sell the paper at all. They don't allow assignments. So it's still a concept. You mean they would allow assignments, but they wouldn't put it on the MLS system? No, because
they would put it on the MLS, but they're basically saying to the assignor, we're not allowing you, if you want to sell your unit before it closes, we can sell it, but it has to be through our agents or through
their brokerage.
yeah,
I've never seen that.
no, okay,
No, I don't know that it's not possible, but I've never seen it.
okay.
Okay. Never seen that. The assignee is the buyer number 2, as we talked about. They're going to enter into an assignment agreement. They're going to get a copy of the original agreement of purchase and sale and any documents that pertain to it, and you have to review them carefully with a lawyer. The assignee may pay the following on occupancy. So occupancy is what? It's before the property is registered, okay? But the buyer or assignee or assignor gets to go in and they basically pay rent to the builder. That's occupancy. The assignee may pay the following on occupancy: the final deposit, any occupancy fees, which are taxes, common expenses, and any interest on the purchase price. Gotta love builders. The assignee usually delivers 6 to 12 post-dated checks to the builder, which is their rent checks, really. Number 4, the assignee may pay the following to the builder on final closing: the estimated property taxes, up to 2 years. I didn't know that. The utilities, hydro, water, gas installation. So some of these things you can negotiate. Okay, stop right there. When buyer number 1 goes to the builder
Yeah,
and they buy a new build, there are some items that are open for negotiation, like connection fees and things like that. Okay, so if you are going to work with a buyer who's going to go into a new build situation, you need to know that there are some things that are negotiable. Plus they have a 10-day cooling off period. But you still, when you go in and do the original negotiation, you should go in with your buyers and sit down and try to negotiate some of the items.
and that's our added value actually, right?
That's exactly
Because
right.
I was at my hairdresser's and she told me one of our friends bought a place and they're charging her $23,000 for utility installation. And I said,
That's
well,
crazy.
if she had had a realtor, this is what I said to her,
Who knew what they
we
were
could
doing?
have capped that.
Who knew what they were doing?
Who knew what they were doing? We could have capped those rates
Exactly.
And she wouldn't be having to pay, because that's how we negotiate. There's like a set cap. You can't go higher than this.
Plus, I don't see why her lawyer didn't catch that. So
That's what I thought.
you send
as
the
well.
agreement, the original agreement goes with the builder, goes to your lawyer for your cooling off period, right? And your lawyer looks at it and he may say, that's not reasonable, this is okay, that's not reasonable. Then you can go back to the builder and then negotiate it again. Or the builder says, no, we don't agree, and then the deal's dead. But the lawyer didn't catch it either.
That's right.
Well,
Right.
but to clarify your point, we don't negotiate anything with the builders anymore.
Well,
You don't have the power to, but lawyers have the power to
lawyers
cap.
do.
But you
we
can-
could do
but
that
you can
too.
go in. You can go in.
But normally they give you the incentives, right? And then that's when you say this is a good opportunity. They're capped and all that. But I mean, if you go and ask them, can you cap them? They'll be like, have your lawyer send an amendment, or right, and then they do it with the lawyer. But we don't. I mean, we just
But Rico says that you're there representing
You're
them. You're supposed to be
representing.
working with the realtor and all the other stuff, and so you're their representative, and you're
there to
supposed
smile.
to. You're supposed to do that.
Yeah.
If they throw back at you, there's nothing much you can do. Then it goes to the lawyer.
Right. Anyways, I'm just thinking about added value for clients that are buying pre-construction
Yeah.
to use us.
Well, they mean not every builder pays a commission.
No, I
Right.
know, but the ones that do.
Yeah, I ran
What
up
is
to
our
a
added
builder.
value?
I ran up to a builder the other day because I wasn't going to go, and he was like, "Go, go, go!" The clients of mine decided they wanted to go to a new build, so I get in the car and drive during rush hour, Major Mac and 27, and I get there, and the builder says, "We don't pay commission." So I just hopped back in my car and left. Thank you.
Let the clients
Fend for themselves. And they decided not to buy a new build. Okay, so I went to, what else does the assignee have to pay on closing? The development charges or levies, any carry-on, new home warranty, a discharge of the builder's mortgage, the builder's lawyer law society charge, again, that's something that you can negotiate, compensation for the builder, the cost of handling the assignee's deposit, checks, and they charge you just to handle the assignee's checks. They said about $250, 2 months of occupancy for reserve, and any other amounts. Number 5, the assignee is responsible for the following additional fees: legal fees and disbursements, land transfer, HST, any municipal levies. And again, talk to your lawyer regarding any other tax implications, like HST. The assignee takes occupancy of the unit and all applicable financial obligations. And after the condominium is registered, on final closing, the builder transfers title to the assignee, buyer number 2. The assignee pays a balance to the builder. The assignee may also pay any amount still owed to the assignor, depending on terms of the assignment. We're going to get to that. And the assignee should include a clause that makes the offer conditional on the assignor providing the assignee with the original agreement of purchase and sale and all applicable amendments.
Nightmare. I know that when you see
Nobody likes
assignment
assignments.
sales,
Nobody likes them.
they're usually lower priced. But when you factor in all of these added costs,
To
I
the-
think
To the assignee.
to the assignee, then
They're not such a deal.
it's not such a deal at all, and it's a headache.
Yeah.
I don't
Plus,
think it's worth
plus,
it.
I think that part of the thing about buying a new build, you get to pick at all your stuff.
And it's already been picked.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's been picked, the offer is negotiated, so you're just literally buying that agreement.
Yeah,
Is out of you have no control.
yeah. These are all hidden costs. Whereas if you buy after the title has registered, then that's your cost.
Exactly.
You know exactly, and there's no HST.
That's right. On a resale.
So
Because it's a resale.
it's better to just buy a new resale, once it's met.
For
title.
somebody who has an inkling they have to get into that building, they love that building, they didn't get in, they missed it, whatever it was, then an assignment works for them.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't work for most people. Okay.
Sure.
It's like when you go to Airbnb Airbnb and it's like, oh, look, the price per day is so low. And then some Airbnbs have all these additional, there's cleaning and service and tax and this and this and that. And then it's like, oh my God, it's so much more. And then there's other Airbnbs that have like, just that's your cost and that's it. So really you have to look at all what that total number is.
Always read the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, to understand it. Builders, builder agreements are totally 150% in favor of the builder, right? And
They're so long that you can't read it all when you're
that's
there.
why you should need a good new build condominium lawyer if you're using
Do we
condominiums.
have one at the office?
I have
that
one.
use-
He taught me the course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll share that with us
Yeah.
if we ever need.
Yeah, if you ever need it, just let me know. I have a couple actually, they're really good.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do the questions and then we're gonna do the form. What is an assignment? An assignment is essentially a sale of a contract or the right to acquire the property. An assignment is a transaction whereby the original purchaser, buyer number one, of a property sells and therefore transfers their interests and obligations under the original contract to the new purchaser. The assignee, buyer number two, will generally assume all of the assigner's duties and obligations under the original agreement of purchase and sale. These rights and obligations are stated in the original agreement, and bless you, and include such as interest payments, taxes, maintenance fees during occupancy. Upon completion, the assignee, God bless, is granted a title to the real property and will incur all final closing costs. Number two, can an agreement of purchase and sale involving any type of real estate transaction be assigned? Under normal circumstances, any agreement of purchase and sale can be assigned, providing that the agreement doesn't prohibit assignments. Again, you have to see the original agreement of purchase and sale, get a copy of it and read it. Is there a course at TREP? Yes, there is a course. I'm taking it for the 5th time tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. I've taken it once and I
Yeah,
was like,
assignments change, the forms change, and the assignment course itself changed. I've taken it 4 times, I guess. Tomorrow is the webinar. I forget what time. I sent it. Is it 2? Yeah, I
There's a
sent
cost
it
involved in that one, eh?
20.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
No.
given for us for free during the
Yeah.
pandemic. But TREP, being the lovely folks they are these days, are now they're charging us. Like, they don't need the money because we're a non-for-profit organization in theory. Yeah. Incredible. We're sitting on a fortune in real estate too, TREP is. Is an assignment legal? An assignment is legally permitted unless otherwise expressly prohibited in writing by the original agreement of purchase and sale. And a fee may be charged by the developer and is normally a cost borne by the assignor, buyer number one, which I said between $35,000 to $5,000 usually. Is it necessary to get permission from the seller developer to assign the agreement of purchase and sale? Absolutely. You may consult the agreement. Generally, developers will not permit assignments without the developer's consent. Thereby, every situation requires consultation with the developer and your lawyer. Please get a lawyer. There have been incidents, yes, there have been, I've seen it here, where unauthorized assignments have resulted in termination of the original agreement and lawsuits. The listing agent never read the original agreement and said you can't assign. They go ahead, put the listing on the MLS system. As Julio said, the builders are looking at it every day. They have somebody on staff that looks at the MLS every day. And they, for whatever reason, they didn't catch it. In our case, our guy actually completed the deal, and it was a gong show. Because he had no authority to sell the property.
So what did happen?
Well,
Was he
the
the listing agent or the buyer's agent?
our listing agent. And the deposit stayed in trust. I forget what happened, one of those long lawsuits. You know, I mean, it was no deal. They can't sell something you don't own.
And that you're not allowed to.
You're not allowed to sell. Okay, flip. Is there a form for assignments? Yeah, there is. So this is form 150, it's a condominium. And this is 145, it's freehold. Basically the same form, more or less, with a few different things for condominium.
I had a question, but I think you already answered. It's the same thing for freehold and townhouses, right?
Exactly, absolutely,
The builder still need to know, even if it's a freehold?
absolutely. You don't own that property. The builder still owns that property. If the builder says, no, you can't sell the paper, or if they say, yes, you can, and you better, and then there's restrictions on it. Sometimes it's time when you're allowed to sell, put it for sale, And if you are allowed to put it for sale, sometimes they put a restriction on how you can sell it. Like you can't put it on the MLS. That's the biggest one.
Why would they do that? Like,
Because they don't want you to sell it.
Because
They're
you're
making the money
competing
anyway.
against them.
They
You're
don't want-
competing with them,
Yeah.
right?
They may have more units for sale.
Okay, they may.
Yeah.
They may. Yeah. There are some builders are really sticklers about that.
Or they're in phase one and they have phase two still to come up, so they want the,
They don't want your competition. Where was I? Will the assigner or assignee's lawyer services be adequate? It is essential that the assigner get a lawyer. For God's sakes, get a good lawyer. Can the assigner's realtor market on the MLS? It all depends, like we said, whether the developer permits the advertising. What if the construction, occupancy, closing, or unit transfer date is delayed? In the event of a delay, the assignment is still valid, and the assignee has agreed to take on their agreement and all responsibility. So, again, with any new build, which we just love new build, if they delay the occupancy or getting into it, the buyer number two has to just go with the flow. Everything is out of their hands. Whatever the buyer number one agreed to, buyer number two is in the game. What if the assignee, which is buyer number two, does not close? This is no different than any other sale. The assignor, in most cases, is not released from the obligations of the original agreement. Both the assignor and the assignee will be liable.
you're
Okay.
taking a big risk if you're the assignor.
Absolutely. Because you're not, whatever we've read here that says you may be released, I've never seen any builder release you from buyer number one from their original obligation. Because they don't want to be stuck with buyer number two.
Yeah.
They want to go after both of you.
And the liability is the pre-construction company that's going to sue both of them.
Absolutely.
It's,
Absolutely.
It's not. I guess it could be the assigner also suing the assignee, no? Or is it just?
The assignor, well, they're going to, it's going to be a domino effect. The builder's going to sue both of them. The buyer number one's going to sue buyer number
There
two.
you
It's
go.
going to be all over the place.
Yeah. A lot of lawyers getting rich.
Pardon me?
A lot of lawyers getting rich.
And us getting nowhere, no commission, can I say. When does the assignor, buyer number one, get their money? And this depends. Are we good? Did you say that?
Cost and financial.
Oh, sorry, did I
You
flip
didn't
it?
read 11 and 12,
Oh, sorry, honey. What is the cost of assigning an agreement of purchase and sale? If the developer consents to an assignment, there will generally be an administration fee, which we talked about, and legals. The fees do vary, and look at the original agreement of purchase and sale. How does the realtor deal with financing and forms, and it's financing like anything else? Now, number 13, this is always cute. When does the assignor or buyer number one get their money? In an assignment, depending on the closing date and terms of the assignment agreement that the assignor and the assignee agreed on, the assigner is usually paid when the assignee gets possession or occupancy, when the original seller approves the assignment, which is the builder, and when the assignee obtains legal title. So it depends. It's not always one way. Okay? It depends on what the
So
assignment
what date
agreement
do you
says.
put on the form, actually, if you don't know what the date is of possession? You know, when you're filling
You would
out-
make a clause. It would have to be a clause.
Okay,
Okay?
I've never looked at those.
Yeah,
so-
we're gonna go through those.
Oh, okay.
Who gets the interest, if any, payable by the builder on the original deposits? Is usually paid to the assignor or buyer number one. And what closing fees are payable? We'll go through that. Who pays the interim occupancy costs? Once the assignment is finalized, the buyer number two will typically pay occupancy costs, which is rent to the builder, until the final closing, and will pay the final closing costs. Morning.
Morning.
Does the assigner have to claim capital gains for tax purposes? Again, addresses capital gains for non-residents. I don't get into capital gains. Talk to your accountant.
But you have to know.
Pardon me?
Everybody has to know.
Have
Change
to,
the rules.
I'm sorry?
They changed the rules, now we have to pay
Capital.
on everything.
Does everybody know Alex?
No.
Okay. And who are you? Tell me who you are and what you do.
I'm the late person. No.
Other than being the late person, you're going to the principal's office?
Yeah. I just started about 2 months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Something so. I was at a little boutique one before. Predominantly do commercial. So, but yeah.
Yeah, he
You
hangs
know.
with Sandeep and Dilip.
Yeah. I've known them for.
The naughty
long time.
Sandeep. He's my naughty child. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've known Sandeep for about 12 years now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How many years have you been doing this? Because it's been.
Well, I was in 5 years in Ireland, and I came back here in 2010 and relicensed and started back here in 2011. Yeah.
Well, if you can work with Irish, you can work with anybody.
Yeah.
I say that as my last name is Marilyn.
Where do you live? Where do you live?
Mississauga, Port Credit.
No, where you want to tell them you're living now.
What?
Floating device.
Yes, I live on my boat.
Okay, party on his boat. Okay.
I got one liveaboard style last.
Very
That was
cool.
my first winter.
How was it?
Oh, wow.
It was pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, you got to prep it up. I installed a proper heating system into it. That's probably the key thing. Once they're warm, you're good.
After a few hours.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the main thing. And now,
So is it a houseboat or a boat?
it's a boat. It's a sailboat. Yeah. 40-foot sailboat, proper sailboat. Yeah. I don't know. I like sailing, so.
So we're doing the next mini meet aboard.
We're going to party at his
Yes,
boat.
There you go.
Yes,
Oh yeah, I'm
that's
getting
mini
it.
meet.
Hopefully putting the mast back up for the season next week. So
Oh, the weather's getting nice. Time to get out there.
weather's getting nice. Yeah.
Where do you keep it?
It's in Port Credit Yacht Club. Yeah. So not too far from here.
Okay, everybody, boys and girls. Thank you. So I've given you the freehold one. There's a condominium one, which is the only difference is our made allowances for condominiums. Okay, the assignee, we know who that is, the assignor. So buyer number 2 is the assignee, assignor buyer number 1.
Oh, I didn't need it, I need to take one for myself.
Oh.
Passed it along.
No, I
did,
You're so-
the sailboat.
I told you, we're all going to Alex's on the boat.
Oh yeah. Do some cruising this summer. That's for
Don't
sure.
worry, we'll bring the beer and the wine.
It sounds like fun.
Okay, buyer number 1, buyer number 2, assignee buyer number 2, assignor buyer number 1. Interest in the real property, nothing's different here. Frontage, depth, all that, legal description. Purchase price, what's the purchase price? Okay, so the purchase price is, you're gonna go flip over to Schedule B.
And this is all in the same form on, right? Like in terms of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Schedule B, again, the buyers
Yeah.
and buyers' names, and the property address and all that. The assignee and the assignor agreed that the calculation of funds to be paid by this assignment agreement, subject to adjustments, is as set out in the following. So number 1, the total purchase price, including the original agreement of purchase and sale. So initially, whatever you paid for buyer number 1 with the builder.
Right.
No,
Well, number 1 is.
no,
whatever.
number 1 is number 2. The total purchase price. So say you paid 300, so number 2 would be 300. Say we paid 300. Purchase price of the original agreement is 300. The total purchase price maybe is 350.
Yeah.
And any deposits you would have paid on those. You might have paid 40 on deposits.
I'm not clear.
So if you bought the original paper for 300, do you have a pen?
Yeah, so this would be 300.
300. 350 is your total.
But where did that come from?
Just-
Where the 50?
I just picked a number.
So
No, but what does it entail?
So
It's-
number 1
it's
is
what
how
you're-
much you're offering.
Is the actual,
Oh, it's
When
what
you're
you're
when
purchase
you're
offering.
buying right
Ah.
now.
is it what you're paying, actually the
I
profit?
thought this was calculating what that number will be.
Yeah.
No, or so you'll see it as laid out.
Okay, okay.
So it's 350, say, for is your purchase price for the assignment. 300 with your original, and in deposits, and I said about 40, just to give you a feeling for that.
Do the deposits change with the builder structure?
When it's laid out in the builder's paperwork.
Yeah, so if a assigner was buying it from the assignee, but if the assignee still has deposits to pay,
Then the assignee, buyer number 2 would end up paying the balance of the deposits.
in the dates that they're supposed to
Exactly.
be. Okay.
So yeah, if they have like 15% paid,
Mhm.
and there's 5% on closing, you're still.
Whatever the case
Yeah,
happens to be.
Okay.
Okay.
So if I paid 40 and I really have to pay 60 in total for deposits,
Yeah.
then I'd be at the buyer number 2 would be on the hook for the 20,
And it would have to be on the dates that
as
were
set out in the original agreement.
Okay.
Remember,
okay.
because the buyer number 2, the assignee, takes all
Yeah.
the obligations
Okay.
of the original agreement.
So your offer price is $350 plus the deposits.
Plus the deposits.
Assigner has paid.
Exactly. Upon acceptance of the assignment agreement and receipt of consent to assign for the original seller, final closing of the original agreement of purchase sale on this assignment, otherwise described herein. Number 4 is a payment by the assignee to the assigner for this assignment. Deposit paid under this assignment agreement. So I also would have to pay the deposit, like the original, like you would do in
Yeah.
any agreement.
Yeah.
You offer 350, and I'm going to give you maybe 25 for deposit.
Wouldn't number 1 include the deposits already? Because it's a total purchase
Nope.
price.
Okay, but wait a sec. So wait a sec. There are deposits paid to the builder,
Yeah, exactly.
and
but
these
this
are
is-
deposits paid.
This is your deposit.
It's
That's
your
what-
deposit from buyer number 2 to buyer number 1 for that agreement.
I'm just saying, number 1 shouldn't be the whole amount, including the deposits that buyer
No.
number 1 paid the builder?
No, that's not the way it's set out.
No.
That would be nice if it would be, but it's not. They separate how much are you paying for this assignment, and then the deposits are on top of that.
Oh, okay.
I think that would only happen once it's actually built and someone's living in it. Then, like a normal sale.
That would be just like a normal
Yeah.
sale.
Yeah.
But the deposit of this software is in number 5. So the purchase price, no, and then number 5 is the
Is
deposit
it,
right
yeah,
now.
which is $5,000, $10,000, whatever you're paying for a deposit for this actual transaction. You know how we say 5% of the deal, more or less for a deposit, that's what number 5 is. Okay, flip back to the first. Deposits, in bold, the assignee and the assigner acknowledge that the purchase price noted above includes both the purchase price the assigner is paying for the property as indicated in the agreement of purchase and sale between the assigner and the seller, which is usually the developer of the property. And it says Schedule C. And that will be, that's when you're gonna get a copy of the original agreement of purchase and sale. That would be Schedule C. The builder's agreement of purchase and sale is your Schedule C. It also includes the amount being paid by the assignee to the assigner as payment for the assignment agreement. So if it was $350 total and I have to pay the builder $300, can I get you to run with this? One of the agents is on the offer, I know she is. Can you take over for a second or just hold on for a second?
Sure, she will see now.
Hello, Maria.
No, one thing that I would say is that normally when you're trying to inquire on this assignment sales, you can just really tell who has done this many times and who has never done it. Because when you ask for the numbers, some people will have no idea what we're talking about, right? So if you're inquiring about one of these, be like, hey, can you give me the breakdown of the numbers so I can do the math as to how much it's gonna cost the new buyer, right? Because as you can see, there's a lot more money that the buyer has to put up front. That's why these ones are hard to do,
It'll flow through.
right? So in my experience is like, when you see the numbers, you're like, this guy's gotta put an astronomical amount.
On what document?
At least 20% down, right? So it's a lot harder to do these ones. That's why I personally have never done one of this, because most people don't have, you know, $200,000 or.
Okay,
Has anybody ever done an assignment one?
sorry guys.
No.
I can send you some of you.
Yeah.
Sorry, thanks.
No problem. I was just saying that normally you can tell what agent has done this because they will send you the breakdown of the financials, right? Have you ever done one, Ed?
No.
Sometimes when you ask, hey, can you tell me where are the deposits, how much have they paid and stuff like that, like they don't even have information available. The listing agents, right? Some they do send you almost like a breakdown, like
Well,
this
you can
side
get it
of
from the
suit.
builder. From the builder.
From the bill or from the listing agent that has the original agreement and knows from the seller how much they put down.
Assuming there was a listing agent.
Yeah,
You mean buyer's agent?
like doing this. Like let's say you see an MLS listing and it's an assignment sale. So you reach out to that agent and you're like, can you send me the numbers on how much money they put down and what says the agreement, right? And sometimes like you don't get anything other than, oh well, look at this beautiful brochure, and you're like, but where are the numbers? I want to see.
Yeah, but when you get your copy of the original agreement, your deposits are all in there.
Yeah, but they don't give you that until you actually have
Yeah, well, when you're gonna do the offer, you
when
need
you're
your
gonna do
Schedule
the
C.
offer. But if you're just inquiring, they don't give you
Oh,
the
yeah,
numbers.
if you're
There's
inquiring,
very
they don't
few
give you-
agents that will give
Yeah.
you the
Until
numbers.
you're ready to do the offer.
Yeah,
You don't have to tell them the truth.
right.
Right.
And then when you get the number, then you're gonna scratch your head and be like, so what's the math again?
Yeah. Okay, so where was I? The assignee and the assignor agree that the funds for this transaction will be calculated and paid out as set out in Schedule B, which we just talked about. The assigner agrees to pay the balance as set out in Schedules A's and B's attached. Irrevocability is the same. Flip. Number 2, the assignment. The assignor agrees to grant and assign to the assignee all the assignor's rights, title, and interest. Number 3, the assignee covenants. The assignee hereby covenants and agrees with the assigner that forthwith upon the assignment of the agreement of purchase and sale, it will assume, perform, and comply with, and be bound by all the obligations, warranties, and representations of the assignor as contained in the original agreement. Number 4 is this is what the buyer number 1 covenants. The assigner has the full right and power to assign, and remember, we're checking on that, right? Make sure that the builder allows that to happen. The agreement of purchase and sale attached hereto as Schedule C is full and complete with any amendments, okay? Because lots of times there's amendments to it, the original document. Lawyer has gotten into the game and they've got renegotiated and their amendments. The assigner will not amend the agreement of purchase and sale without the assignee's prior written consent. So what that says is going forward, the assigner cannot go back in and do anything else with the builder. After acceptance of this assignment agreement, until the earlier of termination or completion, the assigner will not further assign the agreement of purchase and sale. So you can't assign to Victoria, then I can't assign to Beatrice and assign to Danielle. Once I assign it once, the game is over. You can't keep selling the same piece of paper. Well, you can try it, I guess, but yeah. And neither party to the agreement of purchase and sale has done any act in breach of the original agreement. Notices is the same, HST, future use inspection. Number 8, inspection. The assignee acknowledges having had the opportunity to inspect the property, where there's no property, or the plans and documents for the property to be constructed, and understands that upon acceptance of this offer, there shall be a binding assignment agreement. Number 15, approval of the agreement. In the event that consent to this assignment is required to be given by the seller or builder or developer in the agreement of purchase and sale, the assigner will apply at the sole expense of the assignor. Remember, we talked about earlier that the assigner pays that fee of $35, $4,000, $5,000, whatever it is. They will apply, where was that? At the sole expense of the assigner for the requisite consent, and if such consent is refused, then this agreement shall be null and void. Number 17 is default by the seller, which is the builder. The assignee and the assigner acknowledge and agree that if this assignment agreement is not completed due to the default of the seller for the agreement of purchase and sale, that is the subject of this assignment, the assigner shall not be liable for any expenses, losses, or damages incurred by the assignee. And this assignment agreement shall become null and void. And all monies paid by the assignee under this agreement shall be returned to the assigned, by the assignor. All monies paid by the assignee under this assignment agreement shall be returned to the assignee in full without interest. That's not right. All monies paid by the assignee, it should be returned to the assignor.
So that's the profit on the assignment.
Exactly. Yeah, the deal's null and void, and basically you get back the money.
Without interest.
Mm-hmm.
Try getting that back. It's already in their personal account.
Yeah, and it's spent. And the guy has no money anyway, so you're SOL.
Could you change this clause and put like a time frame in there?
Which one? 17?
Yeah. Like if they're in default and you want your money, all your deposits back and stuff, and they're taking long to give it back, could you put a date in there?
You could try it. Nothing you're going to collect.
It might be wise to withhold the profit until the ground's broken and the construction starts.
And that's
If the
all
ground
about
isn't
the
broken, don't pay the profit.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's all about the time frame and the closing of these assignment agreements. Remember, where was the one that said about when you get paid out? Number 13, when does the assigner get their money? So the assignee gets, when they get their money, when the assignee gets possession or occupancy, number 1, or when the original seller, the builder, approves the assignment, number 2, or when the assignee actually gets legal title. I would like number 3, if I was the assignee. Okay, so there's no hanky-panky in between. Electronic signatures, time and date, all that's usuals. Assignment, Schedule A. This is your balance clause. The balance of payment under this assignment agreement. The assignee will deliver the balance of payment for this assignment agreement as more particularly set out in item number 6 on Schedule B, subject to any adjustments with funds drawn in the lawyer's trust account, as amended from time to time to the assignor prior to completing the transaction in this agreement of purchase and sale attached hereto, to be held in trust without interest pending completion or other termination. Assignments, I don't find them particularly profitable.
They used to be.
They can be.
They used to be.
They used to
Because
be.
you didn't pay gains before, now you do whatever.
But the thing is, if somebody really wants to do an assignment, and you have to explain to them the downside, which is the cost, they have no choice in the original contract. There's no negotiations. Everything is already set in stone, and they can't go back in. And there's still an opportunity for a default by the builder.
Because these were usually investment properties, right? So people didn't care. They just want to buy and rent it out.
Well, now with the interest rates, there's people that bought when they thought the interest rate was 5%.
They're not
So now
qualified.
people
And they're
are
not
selling at
closing
a
now.
loss.
They can't afford to close.
I see a lot of assignments at cost
Yeah,
right
exactly.
now.
Because
So-
they
But
can't
they're not
afford,
there for profit
they-
anymore. Because
they
people
can't-
used to make like
they just wanna-
40, 50 grand on a
they just
assignment.
want to get out, right?
What
Yeah.
would happen if they bought it when interest rates were low and now they're high, and what if their agreement says they can't assign it? What do they
They're
do?
SOL.
You lose a deposit.
Okay, and if it says they can't assign it, I guess whoever takes it gets it. If they can sell it.
What do you mean?
Like if they can assign it when they bought it with low interest rates and now they can't afford it anymore.
Well, they would
Goes
default
back
on
to
the agreement.
dealer.
They would default on the agreement, on the original contract with the builder. They couldn't close. Then it's up to the builder if they wanna go after them.
Well, they may lose their deposit,
Well, they will,
They will.
right?
not if, they will.
They will.
Yeah.
But then there's no going after them, they just lose a deposit and that's
No,
money
they
the
stay,
bank
they
should
still
No.
can be
get.
sued.
You still can be sued. It's not a mutual lease like we have. For non-performance, it's a contract, right? So and it's a builder's contract, it's not our more fair-sided agreement of purchase and sales. The builder's contract, all in favor of the builder. So if you don't perform at the end of the day and close, they will eat your deposit and sue you.
Could you do it the other
Potentially.
way? If the builder doesn't close, could you sue them?
No, because remember, you're on the builder's contract, which is all in their game. I mean, there's places downtown, a couple of the builders have just given the money back and said, here. And people were pissed off because they bought at a certain fee, and now to buy a new build is gonna be much more. So they're after our provincial government to
Their money
tighten
was
that.
on hold for so long with all the deposits, and now with inflation, their money's just gotten smaller.
Exactly, well, that's the problem.
So that's why it's kind of like this doesn't look like the best bet for buyers if it's like this risky.
It's not, and not only that, like I said, things can still go wrong, it's out of your control. And as buyer number one, I personally wouldn't want to do an assignment because I'm still on the hook for everything. The builder does not let you off the hook most of the time. I've never seen a builder let you off the hook. They keep you on the hook the whole time. So if buyer number two doesn't perform, they're coming after you.
If
To
you can,
close.
if you can close, it's better just to close, wait, and then sell it, right?
If you can afford to close.
Yeah.
The problem is that today, that they can't afford to close. The interest rates have gone up, but they were pre-approved at one rate, at one amount. Now to get pre-approval, they can't get it.
Yeah.
Right, so you are seeing more assignments coming in. But they're not, I always recommend to buyers, don't get into an assignment. If somebody really loves that building, for whatever reason, they have to be in that building or that suite, yeah, that's different, but most time, go buy something else. And you know what you're gonna get, and you have some choice in negotiating the contract.
But it's even risky for buyer number one.
Well, you're on the
because
hook,
of the interest rates.
I mean,
buyer number one,
Normally, you see these listings; they stay there forever, 90 days, 120
that's
days.
because it's not appealing to anybody.
Yeah.
Who wants to get into it? You gotta think, if you have something that's really hot property, maybe you've got the big terrace, you got the penthouse, maybe it'll be appealing to somebody. I don't see an assignment being an appeal. But you were saying that you see no profit.
I see a lot of them going up, yeah, they'll just sell them at cost just to get out of
Just to
them,
get
'cause-
out.
Exactly, because they can't be qualified with the interest rates.
Yeah, so they can't perform, so just to get out before somebody sues them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the only way around that is you'd get someone lined up and do a redirection of title of close. Which would be super tight, but you
Crazy
need
market,
someone lined up, that's the only way to get out of it,
if possible.
if possible.
It makes sense because if you pay $1,000 a square feet and now they're selling pre-construction at 1,300, it's still, if it's at cost,
Yeah.
for someone else, it's still a good deal, right?
Still a good deal, yeah, and if the building's 90% built,
Yeah.
you're gonna close.
Yeah.
They're gonna close if
Yeah,
you're
the
there.
building's not defaulting, yeah. So,
But today you don't know. I mean, if it's not substantially done, you don't know if
mhm.
the guys are walking away.
Because we went to that one in Mississauga, Lakeville Village, they're selling at $1,300 a square foot, which is
Crazy
And
amount.
apparently, it was already 50% sold. So
yeah, but that was sold years ago, right? And they sold most of the terrace units, like the 2+10, the big ones, up top, not the 1+10.
They said the premium
Yeah,
units. Yeah, but people are, I know it, I see it in the paper lots, or I read about it on the internet, but how many people can't afford to close on their new builds.
Mm.
So, I haven't run into it personally, but I know it's a crazy market out there.
One of my friends bought an assignment and not an assignment, a new build. So she's the first buyer in 2016, and she bought it all on a line of credit, and she's still paying it back. But now the interest rates, like it's just
That's insane.
yeah, it is.
That's insane to buy anything totally.
Yeah,
And the bank can,
Yeah.
the bank can pull your line of credit.
and it wasn't even like a good like penthouse kind of suite. It was just like a studio.
Oh, good luck with that.
Yeah, so
She's in lots of trouble.
Yeah.
Who and I did a new, how long did that take to close?
6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just closed. Well, it closed and then
Well, by the
and
time we got paid
chase
out.
them after. I mean, for the money, right? So you gotta be like on top. They're like,
The
where's
builders,
my check? When is my check?
and builders are really poor at their paperwork, eh? So when we have new bills, a lot of new builds here did years ago. They've changed the unit numbers, they say they paid you, they didn't pay you, they double pay you. We got paid for units that we didn't sell, and we didn't get paid for units that we sold. So it sort of washes out, but they're a disaster. Okay, so, you gotta be on the builder all the time, if you're gonna, with a new build. If you're gonna do a new build, try to get a reputable builder. And remember, there's lots of them who don't pay any commission.
And you gotta keep the relationship with the client, right? Because they will notify you when they get notification that it's gonna close,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the only way that you're gonna know
Chase your commission.
that you can claim the commission, and even then, it will take at least 3 months to pay.
Builders are not known for paying commission. Like I said, and they horrible paperwork.
And then they want the new invoice revised for the new date from this year because they don't want to pay an invoice that was done like 5 years ago.
We had a
So-
team years ago that did all new builds, and like 10 years ago, we're still collecting on them, trying to collect commission. So it's not easy getting your commission on a new build. They pay you a higher rate of commission, but it's not easy getting the commission. Anything else for the table? Anybody having a hard time with the sale? New listings coming out? Anybody? You have problems with Danielle, Danielle called me about the movers.
They have not gotten back to me, I've called and I've sent an email,
Okay,
so,
that's my next step.
yeah, I was gonna actually just call the front desk.
You know, when I go upstairs, is to call and see what the hell's going on with that.
Well, we only have Kelly's number, and